Hey viewers, so obviously I'm a massive Pokemon fan, and my recent anticipation for the new Switch installments have gotten me very excited to see what the future has in store for the franchise. I wanted to make this video as a means of solidifying my overall opinions and predictions, I guess, for the games. I wanted to use my channel as a medium to share my thoughts, because I feel like I don't really have anywhere else to do so. I don't know if I can fully express how excited I am for these games, because really I haven't been this excited for a Pokemon game since the months leading up to the release of X and Y, and I'll explain why that is later on. But essentially, I have very high expectations for Sword and Shield, and I really hope these games deliver. Am I setting myself up for disappointment? I mean, probably, but a man can dream, okay? I want to start off by talking about the reasons why I think that Pokemon will definitely follow behind the trainer throughout the duration of Sword and Shield. So right after the initial trailer dropped revealing Sword and Shield, I saw that a lot of people immediately dismissed the possibility of Pokemon following behind the trainer. So my main reasons for believing that this is the case is because of the data mined running and walking animations found in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So basically, there's walking and running animations that developers and animators would have spent like hours of time working on. I mean, there's over 800 Pokemon now, and each Pokemon received a walking and a running animation, which for the most part were different animations. Like they weren't like the walking animations weren't just sped up running animations. And on top of that, each different form of a Pokemon, like the Alolan forms and Mega forms, received their separate walking and running animations. And that's a lot of time and effort put in. And developers, especially AAA companies such as Game Freak, they don't want to waste their time, they don't want to waste money and resources. And it's led me to believe that these animations were made for a specific reason. It's highly likely that they wanted to use these animations in Sun and Moon, but they weren't able to due to technical limitations of the 3DS. But in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, the walking and running animations for the first 151 Pokemon, as well as their Alolan forms in Meltan and Melmetal, were used, and they are actually identical to the data mined ones found in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So that's led me to believe that if they were able to use these models found in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and to convert them into running and walking animations for Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, that they're going to do the exact same thing for Sword and Shield. And you might point to the trailer disproving this, but that trailer would have been made months in advance to its actual release date. And there's a lot that can change about a game in just a couple weeks, not to mention months. So I highly think that's likely that they could have added Pokemon following behind the trainer. We've seen with games such as the jump between Smash 3DS and Wii U and Smash Ultimate that developers are willing to put in content that an audience would have wanted, like we saw with the Ice Climbers who were cut from Smash 4 due to technical limitations. So I definitely think that it's possible for Sword and Shield to be the first 3D Pokemon games to have Pokemon following behind the trainer. In X and Y, it was their first game jumping from 2D sprites to 3D models, so it was unrealistic to assume that, and it was on the 3DS. But now that we're on the Switch, it opens up entirely new possibilities. So I definitely think that Pokemon could follow behind the trainer, which would be very nice to see. We saw in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee that they adjust proportions for Pokemon like Caterpie or Pokemon like Onix to follow behind the trainer and not look silly. And I'm certain that they'll be able to do that with the rest of the Pokemon. I mean, they have the models, they were made for some specific reason. And they're definitely going to be used. Like, if they're not, I will PayPal everybody who watches this video $50. I am very certain that they're going to be used in Sword and Shield. It's just a matter of time before we see that. And speaking of a matter of time, the games were announced like nearly 3 months ago, and we have heard zero news aside from the confirmation of character customization with that Uniqlo contest, which that was quite nice to see. I mean, everyone pretty much assumed that character customization was coming back, since it's such a beloved feature. But yeah, that brings me on to my next point. I wanted to get this video out before new news was dropped, which is looking like it's going to be at E3. So that's nice to know. But it's very interesting because for the lead up to X and Y, they had a lot of mysteries, like they revealed Sylveon, but didn't tell us its type, and that sparked so much discussion and discourse. And it was actually really nice to see the Pokemon community getting so hyped. And they also showed us Mega Mewtwo, but didn't tell us that it was a Mega Evolution, which also sparked a lot of conversation, so that was nice. And I think that it's because of these things that led to people enjoying X and Y so much, comparatively to Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and then Sun and Moon. Because if we remember with Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, they revealed every single Mega Evolution without leaving any for the players to discover when the game launched. And that was a bit disappointing, because in X and Y, like, Mega Morwell wasn't shown, and when people found out about that, I was like, oh, that's definitely fake, that's not real. They would have shown us that, and they didn't, so it was quite nice to see that there were still some surprises left in X and Y. Even if it didn't have that much of a post-game, there was still so much to do with the revamped competitive battling and the new types and the wonderful Pokemon that they added. But then, in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, they showed us every Mega Evolution. They showed us the redesign for Team Magma and Team Aqua. And then they even spoiled the Delta episode, which was really disappointing because it felt like they didn't have any confidence in their game being able to sell itself. They really wanted to reveal everything that the game had to offer to boost its sales, I suppose, and that really did backfire. But then they went ahead and did the exact same thing for Sun and Moon. Like, it felt like every other week we were getting shown like 5 new Pokemon, or 6 new Pokemon, or a couple new Alolan forms, and then when the games launched, there were no new Alolan forms. We knew about the Aether Foundation, we knew about Team Skull, we knew about the Ultra Beast. There was just no surprise, and I think it's that which adds longevity to your game. And with that missing, a lot of people sort of burnt out from the Pokemon series. I don't blame them. I enjoyed Sun and Moon, but it seems to me that somewhere some marketing genius, some new marketing genius was hired. They've been completely quiet about it, and I think that's a good thing, because it leads to speculation, and that leads to more people talking about your game, and that leads to a build-up of excitement. I know I'm very excited, and I wouldn't have been making this video if they just showed Pokemon following behind you in the first trailer or something, but I'm really glad they seem to have learnt from their mistakes. I just hope that they don't show off too many of the new Galar Pokemon. Like, they leave some surprise. I mean, if they hadn't showed us, like, I don't know, like Fomantis in the trailer, or like Bruxish in the trailers leading up to Sun and Moon, like, I would have seen it in the wild and I would have caught it, just so I can see its type and so I can see its abilities, and that stuff's exciting, you know. But like, when they have these trailers that are releasing like every fortnight, it just kills the hype, and that Pokemon is sort of like put on the back burner. You know, like you don't really care about it anymore once you learn so much about it. There's no mystery. There's no point to catch it if you see it in the game. I mean, Alola did have some of my favorite Pokemon in the entire series so far, but still, you can see my point. So I'm very glad to see that they have been quite silent on the games, and it tells me that they have learnt from their mistakes, and they are listening to the community feedback, which is a good thing. And these games are shaping up to be very, very good. I do think the Game Freak, not Nintendo, has had a change of heart and is thinking about these games very differently. And I do think that Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu were more of a test ride for them, so they can understand how developing games for the Switch will work, and it's let them get their feet wet, you know. and if my theory is correct, it's set the pathway for them to better port in the 3D models from previous games. So thanks for listening. If more ideas come to me, I'll probably end up making more Pokemon videos, but this was just something I really wanted to get out before any new news dropped, because I do think that my thoughts and speculations might have some validity. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.